everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bethany if you're new here, and I am a mom of 3, and I share motherhood and life just here on my channel. So if you're new here, make sure you do subscribe. I come out with videos like this and vlogs and just sharing real motherhood here on my channel. So basically in this video, I am going to be sharing with you guys just some tips and my experience with transitioning from 1 to 2 kids and 2 to 3 kids. Now that I have 3 kids, I've definitely made the transition twice now, and I am really hoping that by me sharing my experience and some tips for you, that it can be helpful for you as you choose to expand your own family. So I actually asked you guys on my Instagram, what are some topics that you are wanting me to include in this new series that is here on my channel? And the new series is what I wish I would have known before. And I'm going to be talking about different topics here on my channel as the weeks go on. But in today's video, it's all about that transition as you add more babies to your family. And I know for me, I was super anxious and nervous, and I really didn't know what to expect. So anyways, I'm really excited to get started, and yeah, let's do it. Alright, so the first thing that we kind of did as we got pregnant again was to prepare our kids or our child for the new baby. So with my daughter, we actually bought her some books about being a big sister, and we actually did the same for Kellen when I was pregnant with my son Carter. So just kind of to give them a bit of an idea of what is to come and what it's going to be like to have a little sibling. I find some of these books are really good. I will have some links down below for you guys of ones that we bought and we found really helpful. But basically it just kind of like talks about what it's going to be like and how you can help mommy and daddy and like all those things. Both my kids were 2.5 when they had a sibling join the family, and so they were kind of at a stage where they were quite aware of what was going on but didn't completely understand. And so the books were really, really helpful, and of course we just ended up talking about the baby a lot and pointing to my stomach and saying like, oh, your baby brother is in there and he's gonna be here soon. And so like they kind of understand that like once they come and enter the family that, oh, like that's who was in mommy's tummy. I find just talking about baby a lot really helped, and just kind of giving them a sense of, oh my gosh, there's gonna be another little person in our family, even though they might not fully grasp the full picture. So basically when my sons were born, Brielle was so excited because she had anticipated meeting her new baby brother, and same with Kellen. When Carter was born, he was really excited to meet him, and it took him a little while to warm up to him, obviously, because it's a big switch and you know they're not fully like understanding everything. Brielle was so like into it and so wanting to help right away, and Kellen just took his time, and we never like forced anything on him, and we never like pressured him into holding him. We just were like, Kate, like when you're ready, if you want to hold him, just let us know. And you know, as time went on, about a week after Carter was born, Kellen really wanted to hold him, and so that was really great, and we're like, yeah, absolutely. And he kind of got used to having him around as time went on. So it's interesting how different personalities with your kids could definitely be a factor into them adjusting as well. One thing that I wish I would have known before adding more babies was just to be more mindful about the divided attention. So I know this was one of my worries when I was pregnant after having my daughter, and even after having my son, because the more kids you have, the more attention you need to divide between them. I really did find that it's going to be different for them, you know, seeing mommy with the baby all the time, and just kind of, you're the one who feeds them and you're spending a lot of time with them at the beginning, and that can be a big shift for your older kids, especially when they're used to having access to you a lot more. For my son Kellen, he was a little bit more attached to me, and so it was a little bit more of a difficult transition for him. My daughter's super independent. She was just like so into helping and like so just like loving it, and my son was a little bit more like, he actually did say to me, Mom, I miss you. And to be honest, like that just like breaks your heart as a mom, because it's like, that's the one thing that makes you feel like so bad about the amount of attention that you're giving to your little baby. But I just want to let you know it's totally normal, and it's normal to feel sad about, you know, missing those moments with the older kids. I think with every transition that we've had, adding one more, it's just something that comes with it, and it's totally normal, even though it doesn't feel great. And just having those feelings means that you care about your other kids, even though it is a transition not only for them but for you too. One thing I really found helpful for when we added more was to just take that one-on-one time with your older kids, and just, it doesn't have to be like just completely alone, but it can be like intentional time doing something that they enjoy. So one thing that I find with my son is that he really likes to play blocks and plays with his toys, and so I will, even when the baby is awake, if he's content and happy somewhere, I will sit on the floor and just sit with him and just do something that he enjoys. So I'm spending that quality time with him, even if there's other things going on and, you know, everyone is still awake. It doesn't mean that, you know, it might be easier when the baby is napping, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. Just find what works for you, but spending that quality time doing something they enjoy will definitely create a sense of just security for them in this big transition, because for them, they're complete, like their whole world has changed as well, just as yours has. And so just giving them that reassurance that, you know, mom is still there. And also just being able to take them out on a little date. I've done this with Brielle and with Kellen once or twice since Carter's been born, and I find that it's like, even if it's just like going to the grocery store just with them, I think it's huge just to have that one-on-one time. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy fancy. It's not like you have to go and like do like a whole day thing with just them. It can be so simple. But again, just spending that playtime with them is huge. Okay, another thing I noticed was just transitioning can be super overwhelming. And I know for me, at the beginning, it's really hard for me to deal with change. I know that's for me personally, and it can be really, really overwhelming as you're trying to navigate what life looks like with adding one more. So it takes time, and I think that's something that for me, I get really impatient. I just want things to be like, you know, good now. I want to be like in a good routine and all these things, because I know that's where I really thrive. But it takes time, and being overwhelmed with the changes is a normal thing too. Normal overwhelm is all right, and just feeling a little bit of anxiety is normal. But again, if you're having more than normal anxieties and overwhelm, I would highly recommend talking to someone about that, because postpartum anxiety and depression is a real thing, and I have experienced it myself. And so when you are transitioning and you're going through that sort of season, just be mindful of how you are doing, because it is a huge change and it can be challenging. So one thing I would recommend is just being aware of your mental state and your mental health. And if you're feeling like it's too overwhelming, ask for help. I think that's another great tip too, is that even though it may feel hard, asking for help is so, so important, because I know for myself, it's really hard for me to accept help. But I think now that I've had 3, and even this 3rd time, I was able to accept help a lot easier, because I knew how much I truly needed it. I'm so thankful that I have a husband who is very supportive, and definitely is just like, I'll take the kids, like, you go rest. And it's just been such a blessing to me. Even having my mom around, she is such a great blessing to me, and she just takes the older kids when she's able to, and it's so wonderful. So if there are people in your life where you can ask for help, please do that, because you need to be taking care of yourself. One thing I wish I would have known before was that the more babies you have, the less time you have for you. And that's just kind of a natural thing, because there are more needs that you need to fulfill, and of course it's going to be busier. And that's just what comes with having more children, is that it's gonna be more work. And I think that's one thing that I kind of already knew, but I wasn't fully aware of how much less time I would have. And of course, you don't really fully understand a season until you're like actually immersed into it. Taking that time for you within that is so essential, and just doing little things that you can for yourself is huge, because you can kind of be so focused on the kids all the time because they need you a lot. But if you can make time for yourself, even if it's like 15 minutes a day, it is so, so important. Like, do things that fill your cup, because through this transition, it can be really easy to lose yourself. Like I said, you're just constantly fulfilling the needs of your kids. One thing I've always kind of said is like, how are you supposed to pour from an empty cup? There's nothing to pour out. And so if you're not filling yourself and you're not fueling yourself with things that kind of give you joy and peace, and just things that you enjoy, how are you supposed to pour into your children and into your relationship with your spouse? It's just, having that balance is huge, and no one has it figured out. Like, I don't have it figured out either, and I'm like, it's been 6 months since I've had my son. Like, I'm still figuring it out, and I think that every single mom is, and we've never fully arrived. And I think that's one thing too, is just to not compare yourself to, say, someone else's journey with this transition, because we all go through it differently. And if someone is like, you feel like totally like owning this season, like, good for them. It's okay to struggle with it. It's okay to say this is really hard, because we all have to figure it out. Your journey is your journey. And I think that's one thing I wish I would have known, is to not compare myself to other moms that I feel like this was so easy for them. Like, why was this transition just so smooth, and why am I having a hard time? Because you are you, and your experience is totally different than somebody else's. It's totally unique to you, and do what you can to take care of yourself, get the help you need, and basically just give yourself room to grow. I think that's also huge as well, because you are growing and changing within this transition, and give yourself room to cry, to have joy, and to kind of just go through the struggle. I think just embracing the season can be so helpful to yourself, and know that it doesn't last forever. As time goes on, things get a little bit easier to manage, because you kind of get used to how things are. And I know that for myself, now that I'm 6 months postpartum, things are getting a lot easier for me to cope with, even though I still have days that everything is just really overwhelming, because again, having 3, I just don't have a lot of time to sit. There just seems to be like always something going on, whether it's like a fight with the older 2, or the youngest is not sleeping, and like Carter is just like so fussy because he's not sleeping. That's literally what I'm going through right now, is like literally the fighting between Brielle and Kellen is just like constant throughout the day. Like, I just feel like I'm a referee, and then having to deal with a fussy baby and like an overtired baby on top of that is a struggle. And I'm not saying that like I don't enjoy the moments with my kids, but it is challenging, and it's okay to sit in that and be like, okay, this is the season, and I'm just trying to hold on to the simple joys of my day, and know that it's normal to get overwhelmed with things sometimes, but to keep myself grounded in that too is also really good to remember. One thing I wish I would have known is that you might naturally feel distant from your spouse or your partner through this time. I found that through transitioning to a family of 5, that my husband, he naturally just took care of like Brielle and Kellen, and while I was kind of dealing with Carter, because obviously, you know, I'm the one who is, you know, bonding with Carter the most at the time and feeding him, and he's needing me a lot more than, say, he was needing Luke. And so he would just take care of the older ones, and we just kind of were in survival mode, where we just kind of we just kind of slipped into those roles naturally. It wasn't like we had a big conversation. He just saw a need and fulfilled that with the older 2, as I kind of took on handling Carter. And so it was really good for us to realize that that was happening, and to say, okay, well, now that Carter's like a little bit older, like, here, I can handle this with the older 2. And now things have kind of shifted a little bit more, but we noticed that definitely at the beginning, is that we felt a little bit distant from each other, just because we were kind of just trying to survive getting through taking care of the kids and the transition and the new dynamic and all that stuff. And so I definitely would recommend, try to stay as connected to your spouse as possible, and communicate everything. I think with any relationship, communication is so key. And if you're feeling distant from your partner and your spouse, it's definitely good to connect and voice that to them. I think it's a huge during this time. Communication is everything. So yeah, overall, we just noticed that we were becoming a lot more distant with each other. We were falling into these natural roles, and we just needed to communicate to kind of get on the same page with things. So the last one here is that mom guilt will happen, and it is normal, and it also means that you care. I think mom guilt, like, I deal with this every single day because I want to be the best mom that I can be for my kids, right? And so do you. You want to be the best mom. And when you feel like you're not being able to meet the needs of your kids like you want to during these two transitions, I know I'm talking about myself right now, you feel guilty because you feel like you're not spending as much time with the older two that you want, and you feel like you feel a little bit disconnected from them because you're spending so much time with your new baby. And it is a normal feeling, and it means that you care, and it means that you're a good mom. But it's also something that you have to realize, it's like, okay, I can do my best here with what I'm given in my circumstances and this transition, which can be really overwhelming, and I can do my best, but then I can leave the rest and know that my kids are loved, they're cared for, and also communicating to them can be really helpful for you as well. So know that mom guilt is normal. It sucks, but it also means that you're being a really good mom. So don't forget that. Also, just want to leave with this as well, is that every family is different, and what worked for us might not work for you. And so find what works for you through this transition. I know I can share my experience and some of my tips, but do what works for you. Figure it out. And if it's different than what I'm doing, that's awesome. And that's definitely something that you need to be confident in. Know that, like, it's okay not to be the same as everybody else, because every single family is unique in their own ways. I just want to let you guys know that if you're going through this transition or anticipating it, that even just you clicking on this video means that you're doing an amazing job. Like, you're just such a caring and wonderful person, and that you are wanting to be the best mom that you could be for your kids. And that's amazing. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I appreciate you so much. I hope that you found it helpful. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I will be coming out with more videos exactly like this, and things I wish I would have known before, a lot of other topics that is related to motherhood and all that stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.